right. Okay. This next, use substitution to determine whether x minus 2 is a factor of the following polynomials. What that means is this is in the form x minus a. If that is a factor of the polynomial, then we should get a remainder of 0 if we plug in 2. So they're saying use substitution to determine whether x minus 2 is a factor. So we're going to plug in 2. If you get 0, then yes, it is a factor. So if we substitute 2 in here, that'd be 2 times 2 to the third minus 7 times 2 to the second plus 11 times 2 minus 10. 2 to the third is 8. 2 times 8 would be 16. I'm just going to write it. I'm not going to, you guys got a calculator. You can type it all in if you want. I'm not. I'm doing it by hand. Minus 7 times 2 to the second is 4, so that'd be minus 28. Plus 11 times 2 is 22, and then minus 10. That would be, let's see, 12, 4, that's going to come to 0, right? You get 0 when you type that in. All right, since you get 0, then yes, x minus 2 would be a factor of the polynomial. Plugging in 2 for number 5, we have 2 to the fourth minus 2 times 2 to the third plus 2 times 2 minus 4. 2 to the fourth is 16 minus 2 times 2 to the third is 8. 2 times 2 to the third would be 16. Then I got plus 4 minus 4. Well, those are all opposites, so we get 0. And so, yes, it is a factor. If we plug in 2 into the next one, 2 to the third minus 10 times 2 squared plus 16 times 2 plus 2. That's 8 minus 40 plus 32 plus 2. Well, 8 minus 40 is negative 32. So negative 32 plus 32 is 0, but then I got a 2 left over, right? So this gives us 2, so that means no, it's not a factor, right? Next, long division from the 4th grade. Been a long time since you've seen something written like that. Okay, so a little reminder of long division from the 4th grade. Guys, 3 goes in, does not go into 1, so then you look at the next digit. 3 goes into 14 evenly. 4 times. Stop. No, do not call people that in my classroom. Really? Okay, next step that you do is 4 times 3 is 12, and you put that underneath. And then you would subtract. And you would subtract and get 20, or 2. And then you'd bring down that 2. Okay, and then you would start all over again, and you'd say 3 goes into, nope, not into 2, but it goes into 22. 7 times 3 is 21. And then if you subtract that, you end up with a remainder of 1. So you had these little remainders sometimes. Now, the other way to write that, though, would be 47 and 1, still getting divided by the divisor, which is 3. Okay, so now we're going to do it, of course. We're not going to keep doing that. This is Honors Algebra 2. We're moving on to long division with polynomials. Okay, so I want to try to go slow, but since some of you have kind of sucked up some of my time, we're going to have to go a little faster than I'd planned. We're going to put x minus 3 out front, which is the divisor. The dividend is the number that we're going to divide into. Okay, so this is going to be x cubed plus 2x squared minus 10x minus 15. Okay, x goes into x cubed evenly. All right, now let me just explain what you should do. Do not pay attention to the minus 3 right now. Just look at the x and divide x into the first term. So x goes into x cubed, x squared times. Okay, x cubed divided by x is x squared. So, okay, Scott. All right, now we take whatever we put on top here and multiply it times the whole polynomial, right? So x squared times x is x cubed. X squared times minus 3 would be minus 3x squared. Draw a line underneath. Just like the old subtract here, we subtracted what we put underneath here. We're going to subtract this, but put a parenthesis around it. Because you are subtracting it, you have to think about the fact that, well, hey, x cubed minus x cubed, that's going to be 0, which is what we want, but we don't write a 0. But what happens when we subtract the second thing in the parentheses? It becomes positive. Okay, so you can write, I don't want to put a slash through there because I want to always see my original, what I wrote down originally in case I make an error somewhere. So anyway, I'm writing the plus sign above. So I do 2x squared plus 3x squared, which gives me 5x squared. And then I bring down the other stuff that was under the radicand, minus 10x minus 15. All right, now I start over again, and I try going x goes into 5x squared plus 5x times. Now we got to multiply 5x times the x minus 3 and put the results under here. 5x times x is 5x squared. 5x times minus 3 is minus 15x. We need to subtract this. Okay, so I'm going to put parentheses, subtract, and then I will need to write that I'm going to be, well, 5x squared minus 5x squared, we're all set with. But I got negative 10x minus a negative 15x, which would be plus 15x, so I get positive 5x, and then I bring down the minus 15. Okay, now I got to start one more time. X goes into 5x, 5 times, so we write plus 5. 5 times x minus 3 would be 5x minus 15. All right, I need to subtract. And since that matches identically, when we subtract it, we're going to end up with 0. Okay, now, a couple of things I want to bring up about your answer. Okay, the quotient, which is the answer to a division problem, in this case is what's up here, x squared plus 5x plus 5. There's also a way to write this in a factored form. Factored form for this would be x minus 3, what we divided by, times x squared plus 5x plus 5. Oh, it'll just depend on what you were asked. It would maybe specify. If you just said to do the division, then you would give the quotient. Okay? But I want you to see that this actually factors it as also if you get a remainder of 0. Okay, let's try another, please. We're going to divide the next one by x plus 6. Leave yourself a little space to write on top of that. X squared minus x minus 42. This is going to be a much simpler one because we start off with x divided into x squared, which is x. We then do x times x, x squared, x times 6 plus 6x. We're going to be subtracting that, though, so that means we're going to be subtracting both of them. So I have x squared minus x squared, of course, 0. Negative x minus 6x would be negative 7x. And then bring down the minus 42. Okay, we then start over. X goes into negative 7x minus 7 times. And negative 7 times x, negative 7x, negative 7 times 6 minus 42. And then I subtract that, and it's the opposite. It's going to be the opposite then. So we know we get 0 because these match. All right. That means this is the factorization of this. So the quotient for this problem is x minus 7. The factored form, of course, and you might have recognized what was going to happen anyway, is x plus 6 times x minus 7. All right. Anybody still need this? Okay. All right, now we have one that is a little more complicated in that we're dividing by something that is 2b plus 2. We're dividing that into 2b cubed minus 6b squared plus 8b minus 4. All right, so what are we going to divide into the first term? It's going to be the 2b. 2b cubed divided by 2b. Got to think in your head. The 2's would cancel. B to the third divided by b would be b to the second. Right? So b squared. I'm just going to put it up above the squared term. Multiply back out. B squared times 2b is 2b cubed. B squared times 2 is plus 2b squared. Excuse me. We need to subtract this. When I subtract the 2b cubes, of course, we get nothing. But then next, I'm going to have negative 6b squared minus 2b squared, which will be negative 8b squared. I really think that two colors is helpful when doing these, when you have to write in this little stuff like that. You know, that's why I'm using two colors to illustrate it. If you get it, don't worry about it, but I'm going to be careful with our signs and stuff. All right, I'm going to bring down some more stuff up from up here. We got plus an 8b and a minus 4 to carry down. All right, now I'll start over. 2b goes into negative 8b squared, negative 4b times. So I got a minus 4b next. Multiply that out. Negative 4b times 2b, negative 8b squared. Negative 4b times 2 will be negative 8b. But we are going to be subtracting this. So don't assume anything right away. If you subtract the negative 8b squared, you'd have negative 8b squared plus 8b squared. Okay, and if you subtract this, it's not going to be wiping out because it's 8b plus 8b, which is 16b. And then bring down the minus 4. So we have one more time to do it. 2b goes into 16b 8 times. Oops, plus 8. 8 times 2b plus 2 is 16b plus 16. We need to subtract this. The 16b will go away, but we're going to have minus 4 minus 16, which is negative 20. We got a remainder. So I need to show you how you write the answer. Okay, the quotient will be the top thing, everything on the top, b squared minus 4b plus 8. But you also have to consider the remainder, and that's going to be minus 20 over the divisor of 2b plus 2. So this would be the answer to that one. It doesn't factor any, really, does it? So I'm not going to even write a factored form because you had a remainder. All right, number 10, one more of these, and now we're dividing by a trinomial, x squared plus 6x minus 7. That's getting divided into x cubed minus 43x plus 42. All right, all we need to look at is the x squared to decide what to do first. X cubed divided by x squared is just x. Okay, I did that right? Minus squared. All right. X times x squared would be x cubed, and then x times 6x is going to be plus 6x squared. X times minus 7 minus 7x. And then we have to subtract. Okay, so the x cubes wipe out. We've got wait a minute. We got to subtract 6x squared. Is there anything to subtract it from? That means you got to bring it down. Okay, so it's minus 6x squared. Then I have the negative 43x, and I am going to be subtracting negative 7x, which I have to change that to add 7x. So I got negative 43x plus 7x, which is negative 36x. And then I bring down that 42. Okay, time to start again. Negative 6x squared divided by x squared would be negative 6. Now multiply this whole trinomial by negative 6. We get negative 6x squared minus 36x plus 42. And since we're subtracting the exact same thing, we end up with 0. So what's the quotient? The quotient is simply x minus 6. And the factored form, you can do this one because it got a remainder of 0, would be x squared plus 6x minus 7 times x minus 6. All right, next. Now we're going to do something that you'll probably like a little better. I mean, I don't think you'll go home and want to spend the whole evening doing it, but I think you're going to like this a lot better than that. Long division is a little bit painful. You got to be very careful with your signs and be very meticulous and neat so you don't mess up anything. But now we're going to do something called synthetic division. Synthetic, it's like fake division. So we have this new special method, and I'll show you what it means. The format for the terms, though, have to be in this form, x minus a. So what you're dividing by has to be just two terms, okay, to use synthetic division, and there has to be a leading coefficient on the x of 1. All right, so you can't do it. See the problem back here, this one? You have to do this kind of problem with long division. And you have to do this kind of problem with long division. But the other ones we looked at, this one and this one, you can do in synthetic division. So what goes here is the a, and then what goes across the top, we're going to fill this format in right here. What you're going to put here will be the coefficients, if I can get my pen right. Coefficients, I forgot how to spell it. I think that's it, isn't it? Coefficients, yeah. And the constant. Coefficients of what? Well, coefficients of what you're dividing into, or the dividend. All right, so here it goes. In this case, you're going to divide by synthetic division. This form is x minus a, so what's a here? It's positive 3 because it's in x minus a form. Okay, so it'll be the opposite of what you really see. So we're going to put a 3 right here. Now we're going to put the coefficients of all the terms in descending order of power. So the coefficient of x cubed is a 1. Coefficient of x squared is a 2. Coefficient of x, negative 10. And the constant, negative 15. Okay, now there's a pattern to follow of how you do this. The first number in that you have a coefficient, or the first coefficient, you drop down below the line. Okay, so you drop that straight down every time. Now we're going to start multiplying. 3 times what we're dividing by is the 3. 3 times 1 is 3. Put that under the 2. Next, you add vertically. 2 plus 3, 5. Drop it under the bar. Next, you keep on multiplying. Multiply. 3 times 5, 15. Put it under the next number, negative 10. Add vertically. Negative 10 plus 15 is 5. Did I do something? Oh, I can't multiply. What's the matter? So wait, okay, I dropped down the first number. Put 1 down here. Now I did 3 times 1 is 3. 2 plus 3 is 5. 3 times 5, 15. Negative 10 plus 15 is 5. Go ahead. Kinda. It's just that this first one comes down. And then you go boom, boom, add. Yep. Yeah, you go boom, boom, add. You'll see it. Once we do it a few times, you'll kind of just get used to it. So let's keep going and do, we did our 3 times 5 again would be 15. And then when we add vertically, we get 0. That means it went nicely. Okay, that's the remainder position. Okay, now, how you write the answer is, you see how this was a cubic that we started with? What you get here is 1 degree lower than what you started with. So it's an x squared. So this would be the leading coefficient of your answer, which is going to be x squared plus, the next one would be 5x, and the next one would be a constant, plus 5. That's your answer. Oh, it's way, way, way easier. Okay, so now that is synthetic division. Okay, so this is the answer to the question. That is your quotient. The quotient is x squared plus 5x plus 5. All right, now, next one. What would the a value be? Careful. -6. Yep, because it's an x minus a format. All right, so if it's positive, you're going to put in a negative number here. So we're going to be dividing synthetically by -6. Okay, so -6, what number are we on? Okay, never mind. Leading coefficients, x squared is 1, -1, and then -42. Now, anytime there are missing powers, you have to fill in zeros for those. Okay, but that didn't happen yet. It's going to come up coming up in case somebody's getting really smart and going ahead somehow. All right, I don't know how you would be yet because we've only done it once, but here we go. Drop down the 1. -6 times 1 is -6. Add vertically. -1 plus -6, -7. Multiply, get positive 42, and you get a result of 0. That's your remainder. And now we started off with a squared. So now this is all the way down to an x times, well, it's x to the first. X, this would just be representative of x minus 7. Okay, so that is your quotient, x minus 7. Note, if the remainder is 0, then the divisor is a factor of the polynomial. So it would be in factored form. Of course, it'd be x plus 6 times x minus 7. That's factored. And over here, the other one, if we checked it out, that one would have been x minus 3. Sorry. Or I don't care if you want the quotient first, but x minus 3 is what we divided by, times the answer we got was x squared plus 5x plus 5. Okay, so guess what? It factors things too. When you get beyond the second degree, this can be very helpful. All right, you'll learn a lot of reasons for doing this coming up soon. All right, here we go. What's the a value for this one? -2. All right, so we're going to divide synthetically by -2. Right, we got to draw the format. And then we're going to do the coefficients of x cubed is 1. Coefficient is 1. But I don't have an x squared term, so I need a placeholder. So I put in a 0. I don't have an x term, so I have to put in another 0 placeholder. And then I have the constant, and it's -8. Okay, now think about this. Any degree it has, how many terms will you have in coefficients? 1 more than the highest power of what you're dividing into. Okay, so there should be 4 things. If it's a cubic, it should be 4. If there's a 4th power, it should be 5. All right, drop down the 1 and start the process. -2 times 1 is -2. 0 plus -2 is -2. Add vertically. Multiply across. -2 times -2 is 4. Add vertically. 4. And then last, -2 times -4 times 4 is -8. Uh-oh. add vertically, and we don't get 0. We get negative 16. That is the remainder. Okay, so here's how we can write the polynomial like we were on the other page. We started with the cubic. So this would be a degree of 2. So it would be 1x squared, or just x squared, minus 2x plus 4. And then this remainder thing would be minus 16 over, what were we dividing by? X plus 2. Okay, we've got to go back up to the original problem. Guess what this also means right here? I'm going to tell you something else. This remainder means that the f of negative 2 is negative 16. That means if you plug negative 2 into this function, you would get negative 16. So it gives you some points on the graph. We'll talk about that some more later. All right, a here is negative 2. So let's divide by negative 2 synthetically. Coefficients are 2, 6. I don't have an x term, so I need a 0, and negative 9. Bring down 2. Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. Add vertically, 2. Negative 2 times 2, negative 4. Add vertically, we get negative 4. Negative 2 times negative 4 is 8. Add vertically, and we get negative 1. Okay, what that tells me again is I've got a remainder. That's the f of negative 2 is negative 1. That's one thing it tells you, which is actually a point on the graph. And the lower power is from cubic to squared, so this would be 2x squared plus 2x minus 4, and then minus 1 divided by x plus 2. Okay, 14. 15 is asking us to redo number 4, which we did on the other side. I've got the problem sitting here. So we were dividing, I believe, by x minus 2. Was it x minus 2, guys? Okay. Yes, it was. All right, so if we try this over now, then a value would be a 2. And this would be so much faster than what we did on the other side. The leading coefficient, 2. Next one, negative 7, then 11, then negative 10. And I have 4 terms. I didn't miss any powers. Drop down the 2 and multiply. Add vertically, get negative 3. Multiply, get negative 6. Add vertically, you get 5. Multiply by 2 times 5, you get 10. And add vertically, we get 0. And that's so much faster than what we did long division. The new power is 1 lower than the cubic, so it's a squared. That's 2x squared minus 3x plus 5. Okay, and then the next one is also was division by x minus 2. So we'll start with 2. And the leading coefficient is 1. Negative 10 is next, 16, and then 2. Okay, just one more practice on this. Drop down the 1 and multiply by 2. Put 2 underneath negative 10. Add vertically, get negative 8. 2 times negative 8 is negative 16. Add vertically, and we get 0. But you're not done. 2 times 0 is 0. You got to keep going. 2 plus 0 is 2. So our remainder was 2. And all we got was x squared minus 8x. And then there's a remainder of 2. I don't remember. Okay, so that would be plus 2 divided by x minus 2. Okay, one more. Oh, it says, That was number 16. All right, it says to do this one both ways. I'm going to just real quick set this up. We're dividing by a of 4. We've got x cubed, 1. We have no x squared, so it's going to be 0. Just a minute. Okay. I just showed you the answer to the problem because it's from my other hour. This is what we should get. And then I didn't do the long division on it in that class either because we were running short of time and I have some students who have to leave early. You will be responsible for knowing how to do the long division. I think I'll kind of warm up with that on Monday just so we see it again. The book assignment is listed at the bottom of the page, and no, I did not make a worksheet. So you will have to look in the book, please.